Hey guys, welcome back to FPL Fran. Today's video is going to be a Gameweek 34 template free hit draft guide. As far as the video, I'm actually going to be outlining a 4-5-1 formation. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I really feel like the forwards are really dismaying this week. Arguably, you have only two options alongside a Haaland. You could maybe even stretch it to saying there's three. You could say there's Isak, Martial, and Jota. What I don't like about Isak, of course, is a single game weeker. There's no real reason to free hit into one, even though it's a prime fixture. I would also say that Southampton actually have really good defensive stats considering their position in the league. They're actually better than some of the other competitors, I'd say, at their position in the relegation spots. As far as the other players in terms of forwards, you've got Jota and Martial. Martial is generally a hospital patient, and I'm not going to recommend him with good faith to people, although I might actually even be considering him for my team selection, although I really think that that's not the case. As far as Jota, though, when we're being serious, he is someone that got subbed off today at around 60 minutes, and that really shows you the concern that you will have with players like Gakpo and Jota going forwards. Even though you have two fixtures and you're arguably getting 120 minutes from Jota and a Gakpo, you could be looking at a scenario where you have no idea what's going to happen with that second fixture. Jota and Gakpo could once again start another fixture, but you could also see them get benched in the next one, and that already suggests it's a very, very poor double game week when you're spending that much funds on two players that are supposed to have prime fixtures. That's why I'm actually suggesting a 4-5-1 formation. That's why I'm suggesting for Trent and Robertson. Trent and Robertson, I feel like, are more than likely nailed to start because these are two of Liverpool's best defenders. And not because their defending is good, but because their attacking has been fantastic. They have actually been one of the more consistent attackers within this Liverpool team as of late. We've seen double assists from Robertson and Trent, and they've looked really good. I feel like with Matip, you've got a situation with Konate where he can come back, so I'm not going to really recommend Konate as well, nor am I going to recommend Matip. Virgil van Dijk, I'm not really seeing the upside outside of when I can time him getting a bullet header, which I really can't. I think I'd much rather bank on the players who play an open play. As far as Diaz and Ederson, you might be looking at these two players here after they conceded once again on that late clean sheet to this Arsenal sort of substitute bench. Now, of course, we've seen many iterations of this. We saw that when they played Southampton, and we saw a late goal there. We saw it just this match, as I said, with Arsenal. And City have lost a lot of clean sheets. But what I feel like is perfect about targeting the clean sheets for players playing versus Fulham is Fulham are in an absolute dire state right now. They have a lot of offensive injuries. They have Mitrovic being suspended. They amassed a 0.08 XG versus Aston Villa, and that performance was horrific. I think one of the worst attacking performances that Fulham has pulled out this season. Marco Silva is clearly very unhappy with the performance, and ultimately I don't really think that they have enough depth right now considering the injuries that they have at their disposal, plus the Mitrovic suspension, as I mentioned, to actually pull out a good enough attack. And with Trent and Robertson, as long as you have a little bit of a chance of getting one clean sheet, you're already set up for a fantastic double game week. With Ederson and Diaz, at least that fixture is right after the Arsenal one, and you're hoping that the rest will come around in that Leeds game right before the Champions League. So you're hoping that players like Diaz and players like Ederson will be nailed on going forwards. Ederson, of course, much more nailed than Diaz. With Diaz, you have a chance of rotation, but keep in mind, of course, there's the Ake injury as well, where he probably will once again start this Fulham game and hopefully get a clean sheet there versus what is a very, very dire defense. As far as Shaw, the reason why I'm advocating for him is I prefer Shaw to Martial. I think Shaw's going to get 85 minutes of football in both games, and whether he plays left centre back or left back, which of course there's a chance for both, you're looking at Shaw probably being the most interesting defender. We've seen him many times at left centre back get a lot of bonus points. He could still be on set pieces if he's on fullback duty, and of course do well in open play there. So that's what I like about Shaw as well. As far as the midfield this week, I'm actually going to re-recommend the triple Brighton mid. And a lot of people will be saying, okay, but McAllister actually played in a sort of centre mid position. He was not playing in the 10 spot in the previous match versus Nottingham Forest. And you're correct. And you're also correct about his positioning in the FA Cup semi-final. But his expected goal involvement as of late has still been very, very consistent. And if you look at the Nottingham Forest match, he actually outscored both Mitoma and March in terms of that. And I think there will be chances, of course, combined with the fact that you have two games of McAllister playing within this Brighton team, to suggest that with 90 minutes or 85 minutes a game play in both games, that he's probably going to get maybe even one penalty. Those chances and those odds should be valued, and I think getting a penalty taker here is worth it at the price that McAllister is, considering that you're trying to optimize this free hit draft. March and Mitoma have still been excellent in terms of getting chances. Mitoma actually had a really good chance provided by McAllister that he missed. March, of course, got a little bit of a jammy assist, but you can take what you get from Keylor Navas, who unfortunately had a pretty poor performance when it came to actually losing his clean sheet. As far as Rashford and Salah, I think they're non-negotiables. And this is right off the back of KDB having probably his best game of the season, a 19-pointer versus Arsenal. Now, KDB, of course, is a huge big game player, and arguably every game of the season remaining for City is going to be a big game because they're fighting for multiple different competitions. However, I do think with KDB, you're still looking at less points, and I do think that with Salah having 2 home fixtures, that is an elite setting and a template really to bank on a player like that. And I do think I'd rather spend the funds on Salah at this point in time. I'll put my hands up, of course, if Salah gets outscored by KDB after this double game week, because personally, even for my team, I had even briefly considered KDB, but just for the free hit anyways, I do think these fixtures are actually better suited for someone like Salah, and ultimately KDB could be rested for one of these fixtures. You never really know with Pep, because he could be seeing the niggle that has been mentioned by Sam Lee as well. So that could be an opportunity for KDB to get rested, for example, for the Fulham game first, and then maybe he can come back and feature for the next 2 games. But you don't know with Pep. Whereas with Salah, at least you don't have that gamble to play in your head, and you can only play this free hit once. So I would go for Salah in this situation. As far as the forward, of course, it's just going to be Haaland, and he's going to be the captain. I don't even think this is in question. I mean, some people might think that Salah is a worthy captain. I don't think it's close. It's going to be Haaland, no doubts. But that's going to be the free hit team selection. That's going to be a 4-5-1 template. If you want to find a way to go towards KDB, I can understand that. But I think you have to take many, many gambles. And what are the gambles that you have to take to go for KDB? I think you have to drop Ederson into someone like Steele. You might even have to drop Robertson into someone like Shaw, and then play a 3-5-2 formation potentially. Maybe go towards Martial, save a bit of money there, and then remove one of the Brighton midfielders for a KDB, and that could be how you plan to get there. But there's a lot of opportunity cost that I think you're losing out, and I think it weakens a lot of the individual assets in your team. So therefore, I would still recommend this 4-5-1. But as I said, do as you will. There's a lot of great options. There's, of course, Grealish and Mahrez as well that I don't think are really serious options. And someone like Fernandes, who I think is too expensive. And honestly, at that point, I'd rather go for a KDB just for a bit of what looks like upside when KDB plays in some of these attacking positions. Whereas Fernandes, you're almost coin tossing with him playing deeper at times as well with this United team. Plus, the fixtures actually are much better for City than United, in my opinion. But anyways, that's going to be the free hit team selection. I hope you guys have a wonderful week ahead.